What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my Friday Night SmackDown audio review this week for July 30th, 2021. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend. Obviously, the big news coming out of today has nothing to do with SmackDown from last night, but rather that Bray Wyatt has been released from WWE. I just went live earlier here on the channel talking all about it, my complete analysis of the release itself, what he's been up to lately, possible reasons for it. We found out later in the stream that per Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com, Fightful Select, that it was reportedly due to budget cuts. So I went on a rant about that, his downfall in WWE creatively, not really having anything to do with Bray Wyatt himself, but rather how they booked him, what could be next for him, possible ideas for him in AEW, and so much more. So go check out that video that went up earlier here on the channel. This would have been up earlier had it not gone live for the Bray Wyatt thing, but I was so fired up with so many thoughts on Bray Wyatt, reading reactions and having my own reaction to the news, that I figured that, fuck it, after the 400th episode of Hashtag went so well on Wednesday, I would just go live, and that's exactly what we did. And it was a lot of fun, so check that out right now here on the channel, and hopefully we can do more live streams in the future, reacting to news or reacting to pay-per-views and stuff that's happening, and just go live for the fuck of it here on the channel. So subscribe and never miss a video, and also hit that notification bell to be notified every time we go live or we upload a video here on the channel. But today, in this video, we're talking about the July 30th, 2021 edition of SmackDown, which overall I thought was enjoyable. Did a good job of setting the stage for SummerSlam for three matches that we already kind of knew for a fact that were happening at the pay-per-view, one of which became official on the show, that being John Cena versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Now, if you saw the same preview for SmackDown that I did, where they were advertising Finn Balor and Roman Reigns in a contract signing for not only a match for the Universal Championship or for a Universal Championship match at SummerSlam, you're probably wondering, how the fuck did they get from point A to point B, from Balor and Reigns to Roman and Cena? That makes no sense. Well, I'll get into that momentarily, and the dumbest thing they did on this show. But Cena did open the show addressing Roman's challenge from last week, or rather Cena's challenge and Roman declining said challenge, and Balor accepting that challenge instead, before he was interrupted by Baron Corbin, who's still down on his luck. And they successfully made me feel bad for Corbin last week when he got hit in the nuts by Shotzi's tank and they shot something out of it. And Owens gave him money before it was taken away by Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Owens tended to Corbin. And it kind of made me feel some sympathy for the Corbin character for the first time ever, probably in WWE. And that completely went away on this show. He was back in front of the live crowd, and he was asking Cena for money. Cena gave him like $100, I think, whatever he had on him. Maybe it was $20, I don't know. Corbin did not act grateful. Rather, he said, "This is all you got? Cena, you're a movie star. Put me in your next movie. Make me a stunt double." And that was where Cena predictably promoted Suicide Squad coming up next week, or rather, The Suicide Squad. Big difference there, because just Suicide Squad was a terrible movie, but The Suicide Squad, rather, and I'm not joking, that is literally the difference between the two movie titles, Suicide Squad and The Suicide Squad, because they're not calling it Suicide Squad 2, which is just weird. But that comes up next Friday, which I'm actually looking forward to. Cena's in it, he promoted it here, which was funny, a shameless plug. And Corbin, as opposed to acting sympathetic, he got heat here from the crowd. So I have no idea where they're going for with Corbin, if we're supposed to feel bad for him, if he's just doing this, what's the word I'm looking for? Depleted or desolate character, this character that is despondent Baron Corbin. Broke Baron Corbin is basically the character. And we're supposed to still hate him? I don't know. But either way, he ended up looking like an asshole here. Cena gave him an attitude adjustment for his efforts, and that was the segment. So I really like this. And Cena's line about how if you can find yourself someone who can make missionary position exciting and interesting for 20 years, keep that person, they're a keeper, or something along those lines. It was a great response to Roman Reigns' line about missionary position being very similar to John Cena's character for the last 20 years. I thought that was just great. So this was very entertaining. Corbin is killing it with the current broke Baron Corbin character. It's very interesting. He's doing a great job with it. I'm invested. I love that stuff. Cena played his role very, very well. And the Cena-Reigns remarks back and forth is giving me 2017 memories and flashbacks of their feud from that point. And it's even better because Roman's even better on the mic now than he was then, especially now that he's a heel. And Cena's delivering better shots as well, not just doing like the poopy jokes for the sake of it, but he's delivering some real, he's kind of hitting close to home with some of the stuff he's saying about Roman Reigns. So I thought this was a really good segment. We had Rey Mysterio in one half of the SmackDown Tag Team Champions Jimmy Uso one-on-one after that. In a rematch, not a rematch, but we had Jimmy Uso against Dominic last week. Jimmy won that after cheating the same way that he and the Usos, that he and Jay beat the Mysterios at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Turnabout is fair play was the story of this match, as following a good outing, Rey Mysterio was pinning Jimmy, and then Dominic kind of put his legs up to kind of kick Rey on top of Jimmy to pin Jimmy and pick up the victory. So yes, they cheated, but the Usos cheated twice before first, and probably 3 times if you include the SmackDown before Money in the Bank, which I think the Usos cheated to beat Rey on that show as well. They needed a win. The Usos have gotten the better of the Mysterios at every turn for the last couple of weeks. They needed to win here, so the story behind it makes sense. Obviously, cheating baby faces is never ideal, but I understood what they were going for to kind of, I assume, further build towards a rematch for the SmackDown Tag Team titles, probably and hopefully at the SummerSlam pay-per-view. We then had Bianca Belair out in the ring to discuss her latest successful defense of the SmackDown Women's Championship and really her reign overall as the SmackDown Women's Champion, exceeding the 100-day mark about 10, 11 days ago. She talked about how she won the World Championship, she won the Women's Championship back at WrestleMania in the main event. She won an ESPY, she defended the championship at Rolling Loud, she competed inside Hell in a Cell. She's had a really good reign as SmackDown Women's Champion. And now she's looking ahead to what's next as part of her reign before she was interrupted by Carmella. And I laughed out loud, and clearly they did this for a reason, so I'm not shitting on it. But Carmella came out, followed by Zelina Vega, both looking for title shots. Completely laughable considering Carmella already lost to Bianca twice, last week on SmackDown at Rolling Loud, and then the week before that, the first SmackDown back in front of fans. She is done in the title picture for the foreseeable future. Zelina Vega in the title picture is even more laughable when you consider that she has not won a single match since returning to WWE earlier this month. She lost to Zelina Vega lost to Liv Morgan, who we have not seen since Money in the Bank, which is weird. Why she did not come out to save Bianca Belair instead of who ended up doing the same, I have no idea. I have no idea why we didn't see Liv Morgan here. She's a bad babyface, I guess. But yeah, Zelina Vega lost to Liv Morgan in her return to SmackDown a few weeks ago. She lost at Money in the Bank, and she lost last night as well, and she lost to Toni Storm last week on SmackDown. So she's not exactly back to her winning ways, which she probably was never really on to begin with, considering she hasn't really won many matches on the main roster. If you go back to before she was released late last year, to how many matches she had won prior to that point, it's not many. She beat Mickie James on a Raw before Night of Champions or Clash of Champions, whatever, before she faced Asuka on back-to-back shows for the Raw Women's Championship. And other than that, she really did, she has probably won in the last 3 years on the main roster a whopping 2 or 3 matches, which was acceptable when she's a manager, but when she's not a manager, she's an actual in-ring competitor. How we're supposed to take her seriously, I have no idea. She's really not that good. So the fact that she loses more than she wins, I said this last week, doesn't really bother me. It's the fact that she's in the ring. It's like I know they need more women in that division on SmackDown, but it's like making her a manager to me would make way more sense. But anyway, she was out there with Carmella looking for championship shots. They didn't get that. They attacked Bianca instead. And then out came the returning boss herself, Sasha Banks. For the first time since the SmackDown after WrestleMania 37, we got the boss back on SmackDown, helping clear house and stand tall with Bianca to set up the tag team main event for the night, Bianca and Sasha Banks against Zelina Vega and Carmella. So good segment here. The crowd went nuts for Sasha. She was very over the top with Bianca Belair and acting all cheery and happy and all this other stuff when she came out, which was obviously done on purpose, which we'll get to in a little while. But yeah, I thought this was well done. I thought it was a good segment to kind of set up the tag team main event for later on. And then a segment that served absolutely no purpose, that being for the 24/7 championship. Yeah, the shit is now translating over to SmackDown, which I remember getting the 24/7 title stuff on SmackDown back in 2019, a few months after they introduced it, but it didn't last long. I don't think we've had the 24/7 championship defended on SmackDown since it moved to Fox, and I could be wrong. But it's been a long time, and this shit was just terrible. So, no longer is he Reginald, now known as Reggie, defending the championship on the show against Minnesota's own Chad Gable. It looked like it'd be Otis. It looked like it'd be Otis initially before he said, "It's not me, it's him." And Chad Gable attacked Reggie instead. So we found out after the show, and he cut this pre-match promo backstage that went on for way longer than it needed to, like a promo that meant absolutely nothing. But we found out in a WWE.com exclusive after the show on their YouTube channel that he's not actually French. Well, no shit, but he said here that he never had an accent. He just merely pretended to be French so he could be Carmella's sommelier. Well, why he was still acting French just to be with Nia and Shayna, I have no idea. I'm not really sure why he needed to be French for that, but he was. I fucking hate the Reggie character. He gets a flat reaction every time he comes out. People pop for some of the stuff that he does, and he is absolutely impressive. But this shit has a very short shelf life, and it's already run its course. Thankfully, the match was all of a minute or two long. It didn't waste more time than it needed to. But the thing is, it never needed to waste any time to begin with. It shouldn't have even been on the show. I'm glad we got Otis and Gable in their home state of Minnesota here on SmackDown. They got a good reaction. The fans were into them, but they were involved in a pointless segment for the 24/7 championship. Why not just further their feud with the Street Profits? Did they want them to be cheered against Reggie? I just didn't understand this. And Reggie retained anyway after Otis got involved a minute in and got Gable disqualified. So again, nothing was accomplished, a complete waste of time. Then we got the contract signing. That was dumb. That was pointless. This was absolutely the worst part of the show. And I enjoyed the show overall, like I said earlier. But this was terrible. So the promos that started off, you had Adam Pearce out there, Sonya Deville out there. The promos that started off from Balor and Reigns were very good. Roman was great per usual, responding to Cena. He was awesome. Balor, I wish we heard more from him. Roman said he'll kick his ass back to NXT. Balor said he would be honored to bring the Universal Championship back to NXT. Which made it sound like, are you still on the NXT roster? Because that's kind of how he made it sound like. He's an NXT guy that wants to win the Universal Championship and bring it back to NXT. That was weird. But we heard from Balor a little bit. But I said this a week ago. I said this 2 weeks ago. I'm happy that Balor's back on the main roster and specifically SmackDown because Raw is a dumpster fire. But he's gotta be the Balor from NXT. The happy-go-lucky, smiling Balor babyface is not going to work again on SmackDown. He has the crowd doing the arm thing, and that's cute and all, and I like that. It's interactive. The fans are into it. I'm fine with that portion of it. But if he goes back to being the same Balor that he was before he went to NXT, then those 2 years were a complete waste of time. NXT were the 2 best years of this guy's entire WWE career, including his first run in NXT. The matches he was having were on fire. The character stuff he was doing was great. The promos were the best he had ever cut anywhere in WWE. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, whatever, even including during that first run. He was firing on all cylinders. To take a step back, and the fact that he's a babyface is fine, but if he's still the same Balor that he was previously, not as intense or as badass and whatever, then that's a problem. We didn't get that Finn here. We got Finn Balor of 2019 in this segment. I know he didn't say much, but that's how he came across to me. And also how he was booked, too. Like a fucking loser. So Roman signs the contract. Balor, before he's about to sign it, gets attacked from behind by Baron Corbin, who was pissed from earlier by being embarrassed by John Cena. He takes Balor, chucks him up against the barricade, takes the contract for himself. The expression on Roman's face was priceless. And remember, these two had one of the worst feuds in recent memory back in early 2020, late 2019. Let's not revisit that if we don't have to. But Roman thinking, I gotta face this loser at SummerSlam was amazing. Because he knows he beat him every fucking time when they faced off in 2020, 2019 for the most part. So why would SummerSlam be any different? I'm sure he doesn't give a fuck. So Balor, or rather Corbin's about to sign it because he took the contract for himself. And then out comes John Cena, who takes out Corbin, takes the contract for himself, and signs it. This made absolutely no fucking sense. And the fact that even they provided logic when they came back from commercial break via Paul Heyman, who is a heel, by the way, and they made that make no sense either. Cena's a bad babyface for signing the contract that was clearly meant for Balor. Balor is made to look like a complete fucking loser for quickly and easily, decisively getting beat up by Corbin. And then he's probably just going to take it and be like, all right, oh well. Like, we know that he's facing Baron Corbin next week on the show, but that's it. He's probably not... I mean, if he faces Roman before SummerSlam, fine, I guess, but I would rather at this point see it saved for after SummerSlam. The problem is this. They're taking the most convoluted route to get to Cena and Roman. I know Roman's trying to dodge Cena, but there are other ways of getting to that match than doing a bait and switch with Balor and Roman, making people think we're getting that match, which was equally exciting. It's not like it was Jinder and Roman or something dumb like that. It was a match that the people also wanted to see. Then to have Balor get him fucked over, but not just by a heel, but by a babyface, is the definition of bait and switch. It makes Cena look like a bad babyface, a bad person. Corbin's whatever, but, he just kind of played his role the way that he was supposed to. Balor does not come away from this looking like a star. He looks like a mid-card job guy. And yeah, he's won one match and he's coming back, and they've handled him well so far. But this was really bad. We come back from break. Like I said, Heyman tries to explain it, saying, on the contract it says Roman and Finn, regardless of what the signatures are. So why is Cena getting a title shot? Adam Pearce blindly says, well, I see two names on the contract, John Cena and Roman Reigns. Those are the two signatures I see, so that's the match we're getting at SummerSlam. They have literally never done this before in WWE, to my knowledge, and there's a reason for that, because it makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense. Why would the contract be for one specific match? It's not like 2 years ago when they were supposed to do Miz and Dolph, and then Goldberg filled in for Miz instead. That, first of all, they didn't bother me because no one wanted to see Miz and Dolph at SummerSlam. Goldberg made way more sense. But on the contract, because Miz knew about it in advance, the contract probably said Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler. For all intents and purposes in storyline, it was supposed to be Roman and Balor at SummerSlam after what happened last week. They never said SummerSlam at the end of SmackDown. I mentioned that. I noted that. I noticed that it was supposed to be, or they never actually said that it was supposed to be at SummerSlam. I noticed that. But then they said SummerSlam coming into this show and during the show itself. So then do it at SummerSlam. Or don't do it at SummerSlam. Don't even bother building to it. Why even bother building to it if you're just going to jerk our chain and give us another match instead? Now, Cena and Roman is obviously the bigger match. But then build to that from the get-go, or just don't make Balor look like a loser. This isn't rocket science. This sucked. It started off fine. But then where they went with it sucked. That was really stupid. We then had a 6-man tag team match. King Nakamura, Big E, and Cesaro knocking off the Intercontinental Champion Apollo Crews, Dolph Ziggler, and Robert Roode. And follow-up from last week that saw all these men, in addition to Commander Aziz, just brawl. So we got the predictable 6-man tag team match here. And I guess we did end up, not we, but the people in the crowd last week, what was it, Cincinnati? In SmackDown last week, they ended up getting this match during the Rolling Loud match, as opposed to them watching the matches on the Titantron or whatever. They watched this match in person, so that's why they did it, but we got it again here as well, so it wasn't just a completely pointless segment from a television standpoint. They did the match. It was enjoyable for what it was. SmackDown's mid-card has a lot of good guys, a lot of good talents, but they need to do a better job of giving these guys more direction. Ziggler and Roode have long overstayed their welcome as a tag team. Apollo has had no direction as Intercontinental Champion since at least May. Cesaro has nothing going on right now. Following the feud with Rollins, he's lost a handful of matches. Big E just won Money in the Bank, and they clearly have nothing to do for him. They have nothing for him to do until he probably cashes in at some point. It very likely might be on the Sooner side, which I don't want it to be, but it could be. And then Nakamura pinned Crews here. So it looks like Crews and Nakamura is the next feud for the Intercontinental Championship. I was thinking Cesaro, because we've gotten Crews and Nakamura before. They had a few matches, not over the Intercontinental Championship, but while Crews was in the Intercontinental Championship conversation earlier this year, and Crews already beat him. Nakamura's really over right now. I mean, Cesaro's over too, but people are singing along with Nakamura's theme. He's got the crown, so if they want to capitalize on that, that's fine. Nakamura being the IC champion again, his last reign was so uneventful that I don't know if I'm overly excited for that. I think Cesaro would be perfect just because, I guess Crews can beat Nakamura then move on to Crews, or move on to Cesaro. But Cesaro hasn't been a singles champion in this company, get this, since 2013. He won the damn belt in 2012, but 2013, when he lost it, was over 8 years ago. This guy would be the perfect Intercontinental Champion, so I love Nakamura. I'm glad he's over. I would rather see him be positioned as an opponent for Roman Reigns at some point. That's a fresh match. But maybe he can lose to Cruz, and then Cesaro gets the next shot coming out of the pay-per-view. Who knows? But as for Big E, I don't know what the fuck you did with this guy. They fired Aleister Black. That would have been a great feud for him. Before Money in the Bank, after Money in the Bank, they're not doing that anymore. The Cruz and Apollo stuff has been done to death. Move on from that, please. Do not even put them in the same match anymore. I'm so fucking done with that shit. Him and Corbin, him and Sammy, been there, done that. They have good heels on SmackDown, but like him and Rollins maybe after SummerSlam, I don't know. Rollins wanted the briefcase, and maybe Rollins can go back after it after SummerSlam. I'm not exactly sure. I just don't know what you do with him in the meantime. Speaking of Rollins, we had him on the show attacking Edge. So I love the way this was done. Edge came out making his entrance, and then when we cut to commercial, we found out when we came back from commercial that Rollins actually attacked Edge during the commercial. So I thought that was great. They showed the full-on attack. He was relentless. He was embarrassed after what happened last week. Aggressive, intense, laying out Edge, cutting a promo in this dumb-looking suit, one of the dumber suits he's worn in a while, which is saying something. But it's perfectly in line with his character. Talking about Edge and how he deserves the next title shot. Edge cost him that and all this other shit. Very simple, straight to the point, straightforward storytelling. I like this a lot. It got great heat. The crowd was into it. It was something different. The promo was good. And it was great hype for the upcoming match. This gets 2 thumbs up. I like this a lot. Then we get to the main event. Tag team main event. Bianca Belair teaming up with Sasha Banks against Carmella and Zelina Vega. You knew something was coming when Sasha was acting all over the top, smiley with Bianca and with the crowd. Even when Sasha was last year before Mania, she was more of a babyface than a heel, but she was acting like a heel. She was still like that bitchy boss character, but she was technically a face because she was facing heel opponents. I've always said, before Mania, she should have turned heel because they didn't do the greatest job of fleshing out her character prior to the Bianca match at Mania. But now we know why. I don't know if it was intentional at the time, but they were both baby faces going into the Mania match. Bianca won. Sasha took time off. She ain't taking no shit anymore. She's back now, and she wants her championship back, and to do that, she has to become the boss of old, which is exactly what happened. So she turned heel on Bianca after they won. The match itself was fine. Carmella and Vega were fine. The match was decent. The baby faces win. They celebrate. It looks like we're going off the air until, boom, Sasha hits her with a backstab right into a bank statement to Bianca Belair, attacking her, choking her out. This was great. Got great heat from the crowd, too. You definitely saw this coming, but the crowd, to their credit, they bought into Banks as a babyface. They were super hot for her when she came out, during her entrance, during the match, after the match, whatever. And then when she predictably turned heel, they gave her a lot of great heat. I thought this was awesome. It's not like they cheered her for like, oh, yay, Sasha, for attacking Bianca. No, Bianca's really over. And I said this a few weeks ago on hashtag, but I think Bianca's going to benefit more than anyone else on this roster, Raw or SmackDown, from having crowds back. Because she's already been booked. To WWE's credit, for all the dumb shit they've done, they have handled Bianca extremely well. And she's very over. She's a star. And so it was great to see Sasha get actual heat for attacking Bianca, and not a repeat of 2 years ago when Sasha came back and she attacked Natalya and got cheered for it because everyone just doesn't give a fuck about Natalya. And specifically in Canada, too, you would think they would side with Natalya, but they didn't. They cheered Sasha for attacking Natalya, which was hilarious. But anyway, yeah, that was SmackDown in a nutshell. So great build for Sasha and Bianca. I'm already sold on Bianca-Sasha Part 2 at SummerSlam. We got Cena and Roman official for the Universal Championship of the pay-per-view. And Rollins and Edge is yet to be made official, but it's a lot more likely. Even Nakamura and Cruz has potential. On the Raw side of things, however, we have a triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship I can't say I'm overly excited for. I really just don't care. Goldberg and Lashley is something new. I don't care about Goldberg being in the title picture again when it just doesn't make sense. Specifically for a guy that's just completely random too, so not overly excited for that. Drew and Jinder, I couldn't give 2 fucks about. So it really is a tale of 2 brands right now. Who's putting together the better side of matches for the SummerSlam card? I would say it's certainly SmackDown. So, like I said, I enjoyed this episode. There was no Tegan, there was no Shotzi. I assume they're not on right now because Natalya got hurt on Raw, so there was no reason to feature them if they're not getting a title shot or facing the champions or whatever. I mean, you could have had Tamina out there, but whatever. To give them 2 wins of the tag team champions and then not feature them in an in-ring segment again is weird. But hopefully we get them back on SmackDown soon. And no Toni Storm this week, but after her debut last week, that's fine. Hopefully she's on next week. So an enjoyable show overall. The contract shit was terrible, but it was made newsworthy by the return of Sasha Banks. So thumbs up for the show. I enjoyed it. SmackDown continues to be not an amazing show all in all every week, but it's just a far easier watch, and that was definitely evident this week. And Raw was a bit better than usual on Monday, but SmackDown's just a better brand overall. And it's not just because it's 2 hours, although that does help. So thank you guys for checking out my audio review of SmackDown. Like I said, I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Hit the bell button as well to be notified every time a new video goes up. And be sure to check out my live stream from earlier today talking about Bray Wyatt's shocking release from the WWE if you haven't already checked it out. Have an awesome one, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.